Hi, and welcome to my video. My name is Sylvain Rochon from HomeStudioLogic.com. So yes, my name is French, but English-speaking people say rock on. So Sylvain rock on. Anyways, that's a little joke. I wish I knew all of what I'm going to talk to you about today at the beginning. That would have saved me a lot of time. And I'm here to help you improve. And if you are starting mixing music, you will definitely like what I'll be talking about. So let's move on to Logic, and I'll explain to you 5 tips that will drastically change your mixes. The first tip number 1, make sure you have recorded your tracks properly. Don't record your tracks saying, "Oh, I'll fix that in post production. I'll when I mix the song, I'll go fix that bad note on the guitar or that bad note on vocals." Do it right. So if it means to re-record the track, do it. Second thing that you want to make sure that you get right is please be on the grid. So set your BPM, put your click on, or make yourself a drum track using a drum machine or whatever works. Be on the grid. This will help you so much when you record and when you mix your song. It permits you to add things if ever it's needed. You feel that it's needed while you're mixing, because sometimes we mix a song and we get to a point that, you know what? I'm hearing, I don't know, some bells there. Let's pull out the keyboard and let's do it. And if you're on the grid, it makes your bells be on the grid. If you're not on the grid, you're gonna have to use special tools in Logic, for instance, to make sure you're on the grid. But when you do that, you're moving the timeline. It might sound weird. So you're getting my drift. First, get it right. Record the right levels. Make sure that you're not peaking. Make sure that the tracks are well played. That's very important. If it's well played, your mix will be easy. So it starts at the beginning. You've got great tracks. You can't mess it up at the mixing stage. It's going to sound beautiful. So that's the first tip that I want to talk to you about. The second tip, very important, is to organize your session. There's 2 ways you can prepare your session. And let me show you. I've used both, and they work pretty good. So in Logic right now, first thing you need to do is to organize your tracks in order, meaning you want the guitars to be together. So the electric guitars together, the acoustic guitars together, all that is the drum kit, all the tracks together. Meaning that, let's say you wouldn't be together and you're trying to mix your song and, oh, so sorry. You're trying to mix your song, then you say, okay, I want to raise the kick. Okay, where's the kick? Where's the kick? Okay, it's right here. So you raise your kick level, and then you know what? The snare drum needs to go up as well. Where's the snare? Where's the snare? So to be efficient, always prepare your session the same way. That means that every time you'll be mixing, you know where everything is. Makes sense, right? Now, second thing, color code your tracks. Each mixer has their own color codes. My color code is piano, it's green. What keyboards, keys, strings, they're all like olive color if you want. All electric guitars are dark blue. All acoustic guitars are light blue. Bass is always purple. Drums, red. Lead vocal, orange. Background vocals and harmonies, yellow. That's the way I work. And if I've got a odd track, if you want, I'll assign a different color, which normally is brown, just to my brain knows that when it's brown, it's the odd track. Now, another thing you might want to do is to set up folders or stacks in the case of Logic. Setting folders or stacks will remove a lot of, like right now the sessions looks busy, but if you put folders, it becomes less busy and less stressful. So you can create stacks or folders, and you can first try by mixing the stacks and the folders level-wise. Then afterwards, and even plugins later on, and even you can, and then if it doesn't work, doing it with the folder, you go underneath the hood and you go fix whatever needs to be fixed. So that's one way of doing it. And I've been working with folders for a very long time. Lately, I'm exploring. So I'm creating folders normally for the drum kit and the background vocals. I am not, and all the tracks, the other tracks are on their own. So I take the time to listen to each track, and I take the time to EQ and do whatever needs to be done on each individual tracks. Does it take longer? Yes, it does. It does take longer. But at the end result, is it giving you a better result? I'm not sure yet. My first answer would be yes, because you're taking the time to listen to all tracks individually, and you're not only mixing a folder, which maybe that guitar lick in the middle would be great to be different, but if you're mixing the folder, you're mixing the folder. It's heard, but it would be better if it would sound differently. Does it make sense? Another thing is when you organize your tracks all together, you have steps. You have to know where they are. A lot of mixers are putting the drums first, then the bass, then maybe the guitars, and they're going that way. I'm doing it technically the other way around. So I'm using piano first, whatever keys after, acoustic guitar, electric guitars, bass, drums. Now, technically, my band is all on top. Do you agree? Then I've got the lead vocal, and I've got all harmonies and background vocals at the end. So for me, when, let's say you're in a position where you want to, let's say your levels are too high, and you want just to maybe lower them down maybe by 2 or 3 dB, and you want to lower down the band only, so you go here, and since the band is from the top, you will do this until you reach the lead vocal, and you will bring it down so that it doesn't affect any of the vocals, and the other way around. So let's say the vocal needs a bump up. Well, you want to only raise the level of the vocal. Make sense? So that was tip number 2. So tip number 3, take the time to do your static mix and your panning. I do have a video on panning, so go to my channel, look it up, and go view that video. It's got some wonderful tips. But take the time to do the proper level balancing and your panning. Listen to your static mix hard and make sure that it sounds beautiful. By the end of your static mix, if it's properly balanced, you can, if it's well recorded. So the first step, if you did good recordings and they sound good, well, at that step, at the static mix, you can definitely say, without reverbs and nothing like that, I could actually master this because it sounds good. Makes any sense? Just imagine mastering a static mix. Like, for example, this song here is at the static mix phase. The static mix has been done. And yes, I do have plugins on my channels, but they are not active. They're in blue. You say, yes, they are, but they're doing nothing to the mix. So if you listen to the song, you'll see that my static mix sounds pretty good. That's a guitar solo. So, does it make sense so far? Tip number 4. I do have a video on this, so go to my channel again and go watch it. Get to know your plugins. But more importantly, don't use plugins if they are not needed. Most of the time, less is better. And learn how to use the plugins very well. I'll give you an example. Well, we're going to talk about reverb. Reverb on vocal. Let's go here. At the end, background vocal, not background, my lead vocal is over here. All right, so I am going to solo that. I'm going to go out of reverb.
Crazy love of disbelief holding him.
Now, I'm using the UAD Pure Plate Reverb. Is one of my favorites. Very simple and very effective. There's tons of reverbs out there, so use whatever reverb you like. So let's say I want a 2-second reverb. What's important? On this reverb, we've got a low cut feature, meaning that you don't want the reverb to kick in up to 180 hertz or 90 hertz, whatever you decide to choose. But the most important button you must know on vocals is the pre-delay. A lot of you don't know about the pre-delay, don't use it, but it's very important. What's the difference between pre-delay or not is that when you sing a word, okay, if you don't have any pre-delays, okay, it will start creating reverb at the first transient. So that can create your vocal to be mushy. And you don't want your vocals to be mushy. Why? Because at the end result, when you get to your full mix and the full band is there and all the vocals are there, you'll say, there's something wrong. It sounds mushy. most likely it's your reverb if you did not set your reverb properly. So use the pre-delays. Set it up. So what it does is that the first transient is not reverbed. The reverb will kick in later. We're talking about milliseconds. It's very fast, but your transients are not affected by the reverb. So in the case of this plugin itself, the PurePlate, I've got the bass, treble, and I've got some features here that I can use directly on the plugin. But let's say I don't. So I'm going to set the pre-delay. I normally like around 60 millihertz, sometimes milliseconds. Sometimes it's going to be less or more. It depends on the song. But let's say I set it right there. But what's most important is to add an EQ after. Roll off the bottom. And also roll off the end. Because sometimes you get in a situation on vocals where you're getting some harshness or you're getting spikes in 10K and plus, and you're wondering what the hell is going on. I do have an EQ on my channel and it's not supposed to do this. And you find out later on after searching for an hour that it comes from your reverb. So take care of that right now. So if you do that, when we introduce the reverb to the vocal, you can give it more.
Crazy love of disbelief, holding him.
So let's introduce the band. By the way, always introduce your reverb with the band. Don't do it in solo, because in solo it might be, oh, it's beautiful, but with the band it doesn't sound the same because you've got all the other instruments and you've got other vocals playing at the same time. So you want to make sure that if you want a reverb that is heard, you want to control it with the band. So. So that sounds about right. Now, you can do the same thing with your delays. Add an EQ if it's not incorporated into the plugin itself. A lot of the stock reverbs and delays from Logic, it's all built in. So you can do it in the plugin itself. Most of the time, I prefer doing it myself with an additional EQ. It's my preference. It's all because it's more visible, and it's a preference. The last thing I want to talk about, creating a using your plugins wisely and learn them. Go see my video. When you listen to your mix, it's unfortunate to say, but there is a lot of videos like you're watching right now on YouTube, and a lot of guys are saying, oh, you need to put compressor on everything, and you need to put the threshold at this amount, and ratio at this amount, and quick, fast release, and that will make your bass pop up. Listen to your mix. Listen to make sure, do I need a compressor? Yeah, you probably will need EQ. You will probably need to just fine-tune the tone of that instrument. But does it really need a compressor? We're not talking about vocals. I'm talking about instruments. A piano, for instance. Maybe the piano plugin that was used to record that track sounds wonderful. Or if it was a piano that's been mic'd, it sounds wonderful. You might roll off the bottom end just to make sure there's no rumble there, no boominess, but it might sound wonderful. Don't use plugins where your plugins are not needed. That's one of the biggest tips that I can give you. Now, one last thing. I've seen a lot of guys mix and automatically put an EQ on the master bus when you're mixing. And they pre-adjust EQ with maybe a little boost at the bottom end and a little bit of boost at 15K and plus, and then they mix. Why? Why are you doing that? Mix your song without an EQ. And if at the end of your mix it sounds good, you did it without an EQ. Meaning that when you bounce this mix and go to mastering, you won't have much EQing to do. Maybe a little bit because now you're dealing with one file instead of 120 or 80 or 30 tracks. Think about that. Because it makes a hell of a difference. Like right now on this mix, yes, I am at the static mix stage, but I do have a compressor on it, which is not set. So before I start doing my mix, I will set this compressor so that it compresses just a little bit, maybe half a dB, maybe, and then I'll do my mix. And at the end of my mix, if I feel that I can give it a little bit more compression, maybe 1.5, 2 dB, just to put everything together, it makes your mastering phase easier. Make sense? Now we're going to be talking about tools with Logic. Great tools that I didn't know. So, for example, Project Alternatives. This is one of my favorite tools. If you go into Files, Project Alternatives, you have new, you can edit them. You see right now, I've got 3 of them. So the first one is my static mix, my original, because this alternative is for video. But I've got a static mix. I do have my mix right here on this session. I just need to flip it over. This is a great tool. So let's say you're working on your mix and you say, maybe adding some delay on the vocal at the end of chorus number 3. That would be great. Start a new alternative. Name it delay at the end of chorus 3. Do what you want to do. And if it doesn't work or you don't like it at the end, you can actually go back to your previous version and go into Edit Alternatives and delete that one. So that way, when you decide to do last-minute changes, but this adding a delay, there's not many steps to do that. So you might want to do it in your actual session because afterwards you can just erase it. But let's say you say, I don't like the bottom end, I want to work on the bottom end. And now you start to play around with the bass and you start to adding EQs, compressor, and you're trying to make that bass track sound full at the bottom. By the way, full at the bottom on the bass track, saturation. Look it up. I'll do a video on this. You might want to start a new alternative. Because if you do multiple moves, and if you're like me, sometimes your short memory is bad and you can't remember exactly what you did and at which volume or levels you were, and you screw up what sounded decent before, use the alternative. That's a good tip. Second tip that I like to use, if you right click right here and you go to Channel Strip, Component, Track Notes. I use this in the same instance that I just explained. So let's say I've got, I feel that the bass is not loud enough, and I would like maybe to give it a few dBs to see how it feels, bounce it, listen in my car, and I want to make sure that it sounds good. What I tend to do is I double click here, minus 3.7 is my actual level. Now, what I like to do, I like to go by increments of 1 dB. So I will bring it up 1 dB. Save that. So I'm not starting a new alternative. I'm writing on my channel what I'm doing. So let's say you're changing something in your sends. I will write there, send number 34 minus 28.2. That was the setting that I was before I decided to change it. So that's another tip. Now, when you're recording, let's say you're, in my case, when I'm recording audio, it doesn't affect me because I'm using the UAD Apollo, so latency for me is not an issue when I'm recording audio. But when I'm recording a MIDI, let's say on this song, I want to record MIDI, well, it's going to create an issue because latency will be present. So there's an easy fix. I have a knob right here. It's called low latency monitoring mode. So if I click here, boom, it will turn off every plugins that use CPU. So yes, your mix will sound weird, but you can record your track without latency. And then when you're done, just don't forget to turn it back off because it sounds weird. So you turn it back on. So that's a cool feature. And one that I recently, no, I'm going to talk to you this one after. Now, if you like to, let's say you want, I don't know, you've got a song and you want to write a melody that's in your head. You want to play a melody that's in your head, but for a reason or another, every time that you try to play it, it's not exactly the way you're hearing it in your head. So you can actually grab a microphone. You can. So let's do this. So I'm going to use input number 3, which is this current microphone, and now I'm going to record something. I am going to solo it so that we don't hear anything. So, na 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 na. Very simple. So let's say you want to convert this into MIDI notes. Doable. So you press on E to get to the editing window. You turn your flex mode and flex pitch. Now, when you're in flex pitch, what I normally do, I will set all perfect pitch like this. All right. And once that's done, clicks on edit, create MIDI track from flex pitch data. There you go. So now, so for sure, yes, you need to come like there's junk that it picked up like this. You just delete that, delete that, delete that. and you see multiple notes here. Maybe you want to erase those two, and you want to increase this one. So giving you an idea that this is doable, then you can play with the MIDI notes and set them the way you want. So that's one fun tip. So let's go back, and I will delete this. Oh, I'm going to delete the two tracks. Boom, 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 delete. All right, they're gone. Now, let's say you want to add something to a song. So you practice this, and oh my God, oh, that was perfect. I didn't press record. There's a feature in Logic to save you. It's called flashback capture. So if you do Shift R, boom. So this is what you played. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. You know what? Sometimes when you press record, it elevates a percentage of stress. So if you're a fully professional musician, that doesn't bother you because you're probably used to be playing in front of huge crowds, and doing mistakes is not something you do, and I applaud you for that. But if you're a musician like me, called an amateur, well, sometimes when you press the record button, you get stressed and you make mistakes. Not because you can't play the part. It's just because you're stressing yourself out because you're recording and you don't want to make a mistake. Oh yeah, you can maybe try to fix. In MIDI, it's more easier to fix than recording an audio file, as you know. But like I said, on the first step, do it right at the source. So try to play without mistakes. But sometimes just pressing on play and just jamming with the song, you will play great takes. Well, if it's the case, Shift R, boom, it's there. Remember that one. Shift R, boom, it's on your session. All right, if you like content like this, subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and ring the bell. Get notified when I do post a new video, and I will. So again, my name is Sylvain Rochon from HomeStudioLogic.com, which you can go and visit and become a subscriber and get your guide, free mixing guide that I give for free. And then you can come back to my next video. Until then, I wish you well, and thank you very much for viewing this video. Goodbye.